Hi, good evening. Last week we stopped at the fact that Confucius will teach 4 subjects. The first one being morals and ethics, which is very important for a gentleman or for a bright lady, and also speech, because we often get into trouble by saying the wrong thing. So Confucius students need to learn how to speak properly. And then the third subject that they have to learn is administration. And the 4th subject which they have to learn is literature. So only with these 4 subjects can a student or can a scholar be considered as all-rounded. So you can see from the portrait of Confucius, he was not just a scholar. That means he was not a helpless scholar whom we depict scholars as being. And today we do not like to take up sports. We just study and study and study. So we are not as a rounded person, as Confucius and his students were. They not only need to study, they also need to take up a sport. They also need to take up a musical instrument. So they could play music, they could play sports, they're very good with archery, meaning that in battle. So that gives them an edge whenever they want to plan about, fighting a war, or a battle. And then the administration gives them the edge to learn how to do things. We say 现在是书呆子. We coin the term for scholars as 书呆子, meaning a person who only knows how to study and nothing else. So 他们说什么？死读书. That means we keep on studying. 死读书。然后就变成什么呢？读死书. That means only become academic inclined. And cannot be versatile, cannot be flexible. So in the end, it became 读书死. And you die from just what? Not being able to be flexible and not being able to apply what we learn. So the Confucius scholar have to be very versatile, be able to analyze situations and apply a solution. So they would go to their superior with a solution. They don't go to their superior with a problem. And I often actually heard superior telling their subordinate, don't come to me with problems. Don't create problems and don't make problems bigger than they are. Come to me with a solution. So that's what the Confucius mindset have to be like that. Come to me with a solution. Don't come to me with a problem. So if you study analects and all the classics, all these scholars, they go in with questions, they ask questions, they analyze the situation, and they provide solution. And they have to learn from literature because they have to learn about the tactics, the knowledge, okay, and the wisdom of the past saints and sages, how they handle things and situations. Now, for chapter 4, the trust, now of all these 4 things, of course, all 4 are important. And the first one actually would influence the other 3. That means our speech, our ability to do administration, and our ability to appreciate literature actually come from our understanding and our practice in morals and ethics. Now, we often say speech can be learned. So we have courses, we have motivational courses that teach us how to speak. And we have Toastmasters that teach us how to speak. However, there are certain things about speech that cannot be taught. Meaning that if you only rely on techniques, you will always bump into problems if a new situation arises. Because you would only practice what you have learned, but you do not know how to, in Chinese say, 举一反三. Give you one situation, you can verify it, if you are faced with 3 other situations. That's a 举一反三. So eventually, Confucius scholar have to learn how to 举一反三, means that he can actually be versatile enough to make deductions and even inductions as he analyze a situation. That means he is not rigid. He is not stubborn or rigid in making decisions. A fundamental difference between wisdom versus knowledge is that a wise person will make good judgment, and the good judgment does not offend other people, but at the same time can solve problems. So that's the difference between wisdom versus knowledge. That's what Confucius said. We may be able to study together, and we may be able to establish a sense of mission to accomplish a goal. However, we may not be able, we may be also able to practice the principle. But eventually, what will be decisive is, can we be expedient? That means, do we know how to apply knowledge appropriately to a certain situation? And that takes learning, and that takes practice, starting from the first one. And with that, so chapter 4 starts with speech. Speech that helps us to understand why we should not make those statements. Now, trustworthiness starts with our speech. And the first 7 out of 15 rules are about proper speech. Now, let's look at the first one. When we speak, honesty counts the most. Deceit and lies are unacceptable. Remember we talked about where do we get self-confidence? Where do we get self-confidence? Yes? What? Trust. Getting self-confidence starts from trust, because you can deliver your promise. And as you are able to do that throughout your life, you will grow more confident. We lack confidence because we cannot deliver. We promise, and then we break our promise. And not only promise to other people, promise to ourselves as well. And if we keep on breaking our promise to other people, we start to lose our confidence. Because we can't even believe in ourselves, how can we believe in others? And the one thing I think the key point in deciding whether we can success or fail is the confidence we have with doing what we are doing. So today, if I ask you, can you guarantee that your daughter will grow up to be an okay person? So quick. Now, anybody who thinks that you can guarantee that your children will grow up to be successful in terms of he or she will try his best in what he or she is doing? Okay, any one of you say for sure? The only one, right? Okay, secondly, can any one of us be sure of the fact that we will never get cancer? Okay, also only one. Okay. Now, and can any one of us also be sure that we will not get a divorce? Two, better than the last two questions. Okay, there are about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Right, about 16 people here. Okay, and that's why we know that why we don't have confidence. We don't have confidence because we are not sure. We cannot control ourselves, we cannot control other people. That's why we cannot for sure. Now, cancer, why do we say we cannot control? We have no control over what we eat. Why? We know that we should not eat something, but we eat it anyway. For instance, I know that potato chips, fried food are bad for me, but they taste good. And they are stress food. What is stress food? When you're under stress, you just don't care what you pop into your mouth. You just want to chew on something that is, crispy. And we all know that maybe ice cream is bad. Ice cream is bad for us. High sugar level, cold and so on. Still, we eat it. And what else is bad? We know that we must sleep early and still we sleep late. So there are all things we know, but under stress or under, various situation, we went ahead anyway, and hopefully we don't do it too often. Okay? But if we do it on a regular basis, that will affect our health and with all the preservatives, especially our pet food called instant noodles. I have heard so many reports about instant noodles being bad. Doesn't every one of us have some kind of instant noodles in our house? Anybody who do not have instant noodles in your house? Even the healthiest person here also have instant noodles in the house. That's for her husband, okay? Okay, so maybe you should ask another question. Can you guarantee that your husband will not get cancer? Yeah, these are kind of like human foible. That means sometimes we do not control our mind, we do not discipline ourselves. And therefore, we lost control of it. We know that we should not be angry. Who doesn't know that we should not be angry here? Anybody? Anybody here do not know that we should not be angry? What is so great about angry? There's nothing great about being angry. It's all the bad thing about anger. But can we surely say that we will not get angry? We won't, right? Because we know that it's bad. Everybody knows that it's bad, but still we get angry. And that's why we don't have confidence. We don't have confidence today. And therefore we know all the things that we should do, that we will have a good marriage, and yet we are doing all the things that are opposite. And therefore, we are not sure whether we can keep a relationship. So that's why in chapter 4, the first chapter that comes out is what? When we speak, honesty counts the most. 凡出言信为先，诈与妄奚可焉. Deceit and lies are unacceptable. It should remind us to keep our promise, especially the promise to ourselves. Then secondly, it says, it's better to talk a little than chat too much. This is a bit difficult for us, isn't it? I mean, for women. How do women solve their problems? How do women solve their problems? They like to talk. They like to talk about their problems. Even just talk about it. They need that. This is the way they channel out their frustrations, their dissatisfactions, their grievances. They need to talk things out. How do men solve problems? Bang the table, okay? They bang the table, and yes, what else? Oh, they smoke, okay? They bang the table, they smoke, and actually more and more women are banging the table and smoking. Especially in Paris, I was surprised. I was surprised at the number of women smoking in Paris. And to show they're very edgy, actually. Okay, what else? We got banged the table, smoking, and what else? You see, talking is not in that, right? Do you talk over the problems all the time with your wife? Sometimes, right? Sometimes. When would you talk about your problems with your wife? I mean, you don't have to talk about deep dark secret, tell us, but in general, what is the pattern that will drive you to talk to your wife? Is it about your wife? Is it about your wife? More on children. Okay, so more on children talking about. Even that, you won't talk to your wife all the time. What would be the time when you talk about your children with your wife? Maybe something is a little bit what? Serious. Right? Something you feel that you've got to talk, otherwise the whole world will collapse. So, in general, there are exceptions, but there will always be exceptions, okay? But in general, women need to talk about their problems, but men like to think about the problems. But when women stop talking about the problems, that means they have stopped trying. That's the time when they have given up on finding a solution. But when a man starts to talk and talk and talk, you know that he's doing the last straw. It's either or situation. Okay? So we have to know that, why, talking too much is not good, because it's not going to help the situation. Secondly, as we talk more, we tend to make more mistakes because we get emotional. And that's why we talk a lot. We couldn't stop. We talk as if there is no punctuation. I mean, there is no comma, no colon, no full stop. Because then we know that we are emotional. Right? The more we talk, the more mistakes we make, because we do not think first. So it's important that we think first, right, before we talk. How would you like to talk to someone who keep on rambling without stop? And if you talk like that, nobody can budge in, and nobody can even offer you any advice because you keep talking and talking. Like I once give a feedback, to somebody. I said, someone told me that, if you are not careful, your arrogance may lead you to, follow the footsteps of so-and-so. I was giving him a feedback from someone else, and he right away, he gave me a 10-minute speech. How different he was from the other person. He gave me a 10-minute speech about that person, about himself, about what other people said was absolutely wrong. Right? So when I heard that 10-minute speech, I just kept quiet. I said, okay, that's fine. If you think everybody else is wrong, only you are right, then that's okay. We have nothing else to say. Because what else can I say? And then there was another time when I haven't even started saying anything, because many people have talked to me about, the other person. Right? And then I received this Skype message from this other person telling me that, Teacher Song, whatever you heard is not true. And whatever you heard is not true. So what else can I say? I don't have to say anything, because anything I say, she will tell me that it is not true. And she will keep on and on and on defending herself. So it is not advisable actually to keep on talking. Why don't we talk a little bit less, but listen a little bit more? Do you remember how is the word listen written? It's written with a year. And you have to use the concentration, the focus, as if you are listening to a king, with your eyes fully attentive, and with your heart. Yi Xing means one heart. So listen, this word listen actually means listen with your heart. Now, unfortunately, the simplified Chinese now become a mouth and a weight, 肝啊，斤斤计较的斤。Okay? So now we don't listen with our ear, but we listen with our mouth and with our heavy mouth waiting on us. Okay? So actually, a student asks us, isn't that good? You don't open your mouth, but no, you guard it as if there are 100 weights weighing over it. Okay? Now, the problem with that is you do not just close your mouth, but not listening. Someone who keeps quiet doesn't mean that he is listening. Right? I mean, I remember I was listening to my superior. Actually, I was totally like this. Well, I wasn't agreeing with what he said, but because he was my superior, I was like looking at him. I was doing all this. My eyes were looking at him. My heart didn't dare to go anywhere else. But my ear, actually no, my ear seemed to be pointing. My heart seemed to be pointed at him. And my eyes seemed to be pointing at him. But actually, my heart wasn't there. It flew somewhere else. I was like, So yeah, I didn't say a thing, very heavy on my mouth, but I wasn't really listening, taking in what he said to me. Right? So sometimes certain simplified characters may be simplified to the extent that it lost its original meaning. Another example is 信, trustworthiness, belief, credibility. Now the original, the traditional Chinese means that whatever you say is credible. Later they simplify it, and instead of using speech, they use a writing. That means only written words can be trusted. So now they have come back to this. So they want to go back to the ancients whereby whatever you say can be trusted. And you don't need to really write it down. And the problem with writing it down is even with things written down, if the trust factor is missing, you still cannot believe in it. That's why we have court case to sue each other over a contract. Because even with something written down, we cannot trust each other. If the problem is without trust, we actually add some economic cost into our transaction. Now let's think about this. Think about the economic cost of not trusting. Now, when we do not trust somebody, we need to do more things. To what? To accomplish a same task. Let's say if I believe in Robin, okay, I'll say, okay, Robin, I trust that you can, guide a group of juniors, okay, to finish the assignment. Then I let him do it. But if I gave him the job, but I don't trust him, then he came in with a plan, and I will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, this is no good. You go according to my plan. So he had to go back and what? Revise. And he went back, revised 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and thought, my advice wasn't that appropriate. So he would take 2, but keep his 3 of his own. So he came back with me with the plan. I look at it, I still don't like it. I said, no, this is not acceptable. Okay? Maybe only 1 out of 3 I can accept. Then he had to go back again and what? And redraw a plan. But this is just a plan. How about if he had implemented it already? Then everything had to change, everything had to be discarded, but already course has been implemented. So what I should have done is, first of all, do I trust him to do the job? That is the important decision we have to make first. Not after the fact. 为什么用人不疑啊? When you employ somebody or you assign somebody to task, you don't be suspicious of it. You trust him. But people who you do not believe, you don't put him into a task. I'm going to give you 8 fantastic Chinese characters. which is 用人. It means when you employ someone, 用人不 you do not. 不宜 suspicious, do not be suspicious of him or that person. 用人不疑. If you go to employ someone or hire someone or engage someone, you do not be suspicious of him. But if you are suspicious of him, 疑人, you just kind of change the order, okay? 疑人 means suspicious. That means people who you are suspicious are you. Okay, 疑人不用. You do not hire or employ. In other words, use someone you trust. Those who you do not trust, you do not use them. You do not employ them. But Chinese say that very nicely in 8 words. Same words. You just change the order. Right? 用人不疑, 疑人不用. So when you assign a task to someone, or you tell someone to make a decision, you must first actually gauge first. Can I trust you to make that decision? If I do not trust you to make that decision, I do not ask you to make that decision or do a job. I must be able to make that judgment first. Okay? But let's say I do want you to make a decision, but I like to guide you along first. So I do not go ahead and say, oh, I trust you very much, you go ahead and do it. No. I will say, okay, if you were to lead 4 people to carry out this task, what would you do? He may give me his suggestions and plans, and I listen. Very sensible. Okay. And what happens if those 4 people do not follow instruction? Then I heard your feedback, and then good. Then I feel that I could fully trust him. Then I will let him do it. And once he do it, I do not question too much, but I will supervise the process. However, if I ask him and the suggestions or the plans that he gave me was something that I do not think will work, then I do not give him that assignment. This has to be done in the first place. But if today I hire, 我用一个我怀疑的人, if I hire someone who actually I do not fully trust, there will be a lot of aftermath repair work that I have to do. So this is very important. 你用人你就不要疑，你怀疑他的你就不要用他。So here is another being the trust factor. Okay, so 从话说多 we don't need to talk a lot. We just need to probe a few, and we can roughly tell that whether we can trust that the person or not. And especially, we women, we tend to talk a little bit too much. We would repeat the same thing over and over again. Insects, they hum over and over again. We call it the bumblebee, remember? How does the bumblebee hum? So if we keep on nagging over and over again the same thing, it sounds exactly like a bumblebee with their ears. When we keep on saying, why didn't you consider this carefully? If you keep on saying that and over again, there was zzz. Why don't you just sit there, look at him, and say it word for word? Then only he can feel, the seriousness of the matter. 所以话说多不如少，唯其是勿佞巧。Then about the art of talking, always avoid cunning, deceptive speech, and foul language because it offends people. When it offends people, they do not trust us and they would not want to listen to us because people like to be respected. Okay? All of us like to be respected. Okay? So do not throw any foul language. And also when we throw in this undesirable language, what does that reflect on us? It reflects we have no culture, we are rude. But however, with all these kind of movies that glorify what? This rough language. So every other third word, we need to put in an F word in there. I don't know whether they are aware of it, maybe they are not aware, but it's definitely not a Chinese culture. It may be certain kind of like lower English culture because the higher English culture also do not allow foul language. Right? But as a very cultured Chinese person will not use foul language. And in my household, if we were to say any with foul language, definitely it will follow by either a hit on the head or a slap on the mouth. Okay? And my friend's household was even serious. They would threaten the kid. Do you want me to wash your mouth with the soap? What? Oh, chili? Oh, really? That's in your family? Wash your mouth with chili? Oh, really? Huh? Brush your mouth with chili? Oh, okay. My friend is, she's Irish. So their household word is, I will wash your mouth with the soap. Because foul language is disrespectful. Right? And it also reflects that you do not have culture. 65 is, we should not readily talk about something we have not seen, for it may not be the whole truth. We should not readily pass on to others what we do not know for sure. However, we like to do this all the time. We hear a piece of news, then we pass it on. We see a picture without really verifying whether it's true, we pass it on. With Photoshop, we can do all kinds of wonderful things to a picture. I remember we once had a big group photo. However, our former president was missing. So what do we do? The photographer said, don't worry, because there's no way we could wait for him at that moment. So we said, he told us, you just leave a space. You just have to leave a space, okay? And so we a group of like 30 over people, kept a space for him, and then he took the picture. And then after when the president came, he took the picture of the president, just like that. It doesn't have to be on that spot, okay? Just took a picture of him standing there. And then when the final picture come out, the president was nicely standing there with us. But at that time, he wasn't. He was just not there, but when the photo come out, he was there. So now with photo evidence, the court can challenge it. That they will study the photo whether it is true or not. I'll show you a fire illusion. Wasn't it a box? Well, it's so true. So somebody else who have seen it, but you did not tell him the first part, but just by showing him the last part, he would think he have seen a box. Okay. Now, I'll show you another one. That art illusion. This is a paper box house. 3-dimensional. And the camera starts to go to the back. You see that? Okay, stop there. It's just a piece of flat. It was just a piece of flat board. But you see, that's what it was like. Just a piece of a flat board folded on two sides. Okay? But when you see from this angle, it looks like a house. But if you go to the back and see from this angle, you realize that it was a piece of paper. But when you go to the back and see from this angle, again, it will look like a house. So, can you trust what you see? If you are not all-rounded, like you listen with your heart attentively, analyze the whole thing with an all-rounded sphere, you do not go back and see the whole round, but you only see one aspect of it, you will always, mislead yourself. Because you are not an all-rounder. You do not see all the different aspects. This is a metaphor. A metaphor that when we look at something, when we study a situation, we must study what? All the possibilities. See it from different angles. Now, I also want you to look at this picture. Okay, I want you to look at it. Just look at it, okay? Is it moving or it is not moving? Is it still or moving? Now, anybody who look at it, now don't try to analyze it, okay? Just look at it, okay? If you see it moving, raise your hand. Yeah, see it moving, right? Those who don't see it moving, you raise your hand. Those who don't see it moving, raise your hand, okay? Are you sure it's not moving? From angle, okay, come here. Right? Look again, okay? Look carefully again. Even from this angle. Even from this angle, if you look at it, are you sure it's not moving? It's moving very slowly. And the more you look at it, the more as if it moves. Okay? Now, this is a very strange phenomenon. You will find that if you are calm, okay, it becomes calm, it's still. But if your eyes start to see different things, different dots, different colors, and so on, it will start to move. But if you look the way it is, actually it's a still photo. It's not a video clip. It doesn't move. But the more you look at it, the more you start to look at the big dots, the small dots, the sphere, and all these outer rings and different colors, it will start to move. It's the same thing in life. When you look at it too close, you will conjure all kinds of thoughts, which is not there. Okay? So, in fact, it's a still picture. It doesn't move. But if you keep on looking and looking at it, it starts to move. 这叫什么? You will start to have wandering thoughts, 妄想啊. You will conjure up a lot of thoughts about it. But at first you say, no. It doesn't move. Okay? But the more you look at it, the move. And also, you can be conditioned by, let's say, someone like me. I will keep asking you, are you sure it doesn't move? Are you sure? Look again. Look again. Okay? And then I will ask you, are you sure it doesn't move? Look again. Okay? Are you sure it moves? Then I will ask again. Okay, they say it doesn't move. What about you? How about you? Are you sure it's moving? You can be conditioned by my probing, my question. Then you start to, suspicious of yourself. You start to question yourself. Does it move or does it move or? Okay, because you start to conjure all kinds of possibilities which is not there. Okay, thank you. When Confucius and his disciples was trapped in between two countries, one is called the Chung, the other one is called Cai. And after about 7 days, Zigong managed to go out, sneak out, and got a half bag of rice and come back to the camp. So Confucius assigned the most honored student called Yan Hui to cook the rice for them. And Yan Hui was cooking the rice. It was a makeshift hut. And then the wind blew, and then a piece of mud, fell into the cooked rice. And Yan Hui thought, it is so hard to get this rice, so I better scoop out this mud, okay, with a little bit of rice and just eat it. Because I should not waste any rice, even one piece. I should not waste it. And as he did that, his classmate, Zigong, walked by and saw him. Confucius kept telling us, our Yan Hui is someone who will not bend to poverty, who will not bend to destitute. He's a very upright man. Let me go and tell Confucius. So he went over to the teacher, Kongzi, and he asked Kongzi, their teacher, when a man of principle landed in a situation of poverty, would he compromise his virtue? Confucius, no, he will not, because he will uphold his principle. And he asked again, if a man of principle, if he landed in destituteness, would he compromise his principle? And Confucius said, no, he will not, because he will know that principle is worth more than anything else. Then Zigong said, dear teacher, I saw Yan Hui he was stealing the rice. He was eating the rice. And Confucius said, oh, really? Okay, let's go and take a look. So they went over and take a look. And, dear mother, if you were being reported that someone stole the rice, what would you say? You go into the kitchen. What would you say? Jen, what would you say? Your younger son told you, my elder brother stole something, the rice. What would you say? You go in with the person accused of somebody stealing. What would you say? Did you steal the rice? Right? Okay. What would you say? Same, right? And the gentleman, will you ask first? Would you? You ask first, right? Would you ask anything else? Would you ask anything else? You ask, did you steal, right? Okay. Confucius went over there and said, this is an auspicious day, because the rice is so hard to come by, and according to our propriety, we should first offer to our ancestor, to thank our ancestor for his blessing, that today we have this rice to eat. 我们要先祭拜天地，感恩祖先。So Yan Hui heard that and said, oh, I'm very sorry, teacher, because a piece of mud, fell into the rice. So I scooped it up and actually ate it. And contaminated food cannot be offered to ancestors, cannot be offered to the god. So Yan Hui also know propriety. So Confucius heard this. Zigong heard this. I think Zigong wanted to dig a hole and climb into it, jump into it. But, like your mother, if you heard your elder son say that, of course you will turn to your second son and say, you see? 你冤枉佢啊？邊度有偷？亂咁講嘢你like that, right? But instead, Confucius, smile. That's excellent. I'm glad that you know your propriety, That's very good. 子贡, let's go. And let's go. Okay. So you see, mother or father, we don't need to what? Make people feel bad, and yet you can find out the truth. See, even if you see something, it is the truth, it is not. But because Confucius knows his propriety, he knows Yan Hui also knows the propriety, the rights of offering, so he used that to what? To find out the truth. And Zigong knew that he was deeply embarrassed, but his teacher did not embarrass him. That's one. Secondly, the relationship between Yan Hui and him can what? Can be kept. Because Yan Hui did not know Zigong had went over to teacher and said, let me tell you, I finally found out he was not as righteous as you think he was, teacher. Zigong would say, thank you, you're such a good man. And they would walk away. So it elaborates that even if we see something, it may not be the truth. And when we want to find the truth, don't go and say, use a finger and point. And if you find that it's not the truth, don't point out to the person who make the comment and say that, you see, you libel. You make the libel, you accuse people, you are bad. Right? Next time, nobody will want to tell you anything. Right? So Confucius preserved the so-called faith of both people, and at the same time, he found about the truth. You need wisdom. What was his wisdom? He knew the li. 他懂理. Which is propriety. Okay, in this sense, it's rights and ritual. And it also says here, go back to the PowerPoint. Now, not only that we should not readily talk about something we have not seen, we also do not what? Readily pass on to others what we do not know for sure. Okay, because once things are passed on, it's very hard to take it back. Especially now with YouTube and Facebook and WeChat, and all these things. Once you get a photo there, almost immediately, instantaneously, the whole world can know about it, right? So, very careful with what you say. And also, if we pass on something, I think there is a principle here. If you really do not want people to know about a secret, right, do not tell it to anybody, not even your closest friend or your closest whoever beside you. Why? If you say this to your closest, I don't know, okay, maybe your husband, okay? I will only tell you this, but you never tell anybody else. Then your husband also have somebody who he feels that he can tell the secret to, and he also will tell the other person, my wife said only tell me this, so please do not tell anybody else. And your husband's good friend will also have someone who he was comfortable with. He'll say, well, my friend's wife told him not to tell anybody else, but since he told me, now that I tell you, you please do not tell anybody else. So before you know it, the whole world knows about it. And maybe somebody will tell, hey, it's on YouTube. What? It's on YouTube? What? Okay. So don't ever, if you think that somebody should not know something, then don't say it. Okay? And also, there's timing also. If you feel that it's not the right time to know, then you don't need to say it. It doesn't mean that you lie. You just don't say it. Doesn't mean that you lie. You don't need to answer every question, question that you're uncomfortable with. You don't need to answer until you feel that it's the right time. So if someone asks us to do something and we are not sure whether it's appropriate, we should not carelessly promise as the next rule. Just like if we are not comfortable with something, do not do not say it, or have to give them an answer. Because if we do promise to do something and it is inappropriate, what will happen? We'll be wrong whether we keep or break our promise. Why is it wrong if we break our promise? Because that means you are not a trustworthy person. But if I keep my promise, but it's not an appropriate promise, what is not an appropriate promise? Can we think of an inappropriate promise? You all are so innocent. I'll give you an ancient moral stories, promise that should not be kept. Because it's a bit extreme. You see, this scholar, he promised a lady that he will wait for her under a bridge. He is a very trustworthy man. And as he was waiting and waiting, it started to rain. And it was a tremendous storm. And the water level from the river started to rise. And he still stood there because he wanted to keep his promise. And as the water level started to rise, people passed and advised him, hey, you better run because, it may flood, and wash you away. And he said, no, I must keep my promise. And as the water level rise, sure enough, he was washed away. And the lady did not turn up. Well, exactly, you would say that, right? Why? He was so STUPITR. So that is an inappropriate promise to keep. And at that time, when it's raining, and even though the lady, if she's understanding enough, would she scold you, diminish you, look down on you, or would she respect you, have a respect of you if you leave? And he told me later on that, I did not wait there because it started to rain very heavily and the flood water was rising, and therefore I'm sorry, I did not wait for you, I left. Now when the lady heard that, would she look down upon that man? She won't. She most likely would respect him a lot because it shows that he is intelligent. And secondly, it shows that he's a filial son. 身体发肤受之父母不敢毁伤. Every bit of skin, every bit of hair we have on our body came from our parents. So we should never do anything to injure it, unnecessarily. So something that is likely promise, which we cannot fulfill later on. You know how even in the business deal, if you cannot deliver a deal, you should never promise. Because if you promise and you cannot deliver, first, you break your promise, and second, if you really insist on it, you may actually jeopardize a lot of people's livelihood because you are actually forcing it to go through something that you cannot deliver. What else did you promise but you cannot deliver? Make it lighter. We do all kinds of New Year resolutions. Do you make New Year resolution? On January the 1st, 2013, I have listed down 10 things I want to do, and I promise all these people I will do them. December 31st, 2013, I look at them, but I did not do any one of them. Right? So come to the point that we did not dare to show other people our resolution because we knew that we could not deliver them. So if you make a promise, make sure it is first is appropriate, and secondly you can fulfill the promise. So 67 asks us when speaking, say each word unhurriedly, clearly, and correctly. Do not mumble or talk too fast. Even in university, When I want to take a course and I talk to my parents, I have to let them know that I can do it. Otherwise, if they pay all this money for me and I cannot, finish my course, that will be what money will be spent, and then I am not fulfilling my own promise. Right? So we need to know, is that the course I want? Is that the course I can handle? Right? And by speaking something slowly and clearly, even you can speak fast and clear, but the key is you have to speak unhurriedly and clearly, because when we speak fast, we tend to be not able to speak very clearly. Right? It helps us to what? To calm down and think about something more carefully without blurring our words. Now try it. When you feel uncertain, would you talk very steadily? Think about the times when you are in a hurry or you're not sure. How would you talk? Will you talk with a steady voice or will you talk with a hurried voice? You will in a hurried voice, especially when you scold children, right? That's when you 勿急疾勿模糊就没有了. Our director, she once shared with us, when her daughter make a mistake, she would sit her down and talk to her. Well, you know why mommy now wants to, hit you on the hand? There's a whip, right? Why mommy have to whip you on the hand? But just now in the shopping center, you were unreasonable. You were screaming and yelling to want to have something. You could have talked to mommy nicely, tell mommy what you want, and mommy talk to you that you cannot have that at this moment. Okay? You must not scream and yell. In life, we cannot get everything we want. Okay? And when you cannot get what you want, you cannot scream and yell and kick in the public in order to get what you want. You will make a lot of people very unhappy about you. So what mommy wants to teach you is that you must be reasonable. Do you understand? The daughter said, yes, mommy, I understand. So, okay, now take out your hand. So, took out her hand. And 1, 2, 3. And said, okay, now you can go out. So she went out. So she was very, what we call calm in reproaching her children. So much so that her daughter, when she was naughty and the brother violated some house rules, she would take her brother, walk into the room where her mother was with the whip. She said, Mom, Didi and I today committed something wrong. This is the whip. Please hit us. They know the rules because the mother was so calm and steady. Now her daughter has her own daughter, and she seems to have transferred this kind of calmness, towards teaching her daughter as well. Now one day her daughter knows that when she make a mistake, naughty, her mother would ask her to stand in the corner. So she stood in the corner, but the grandma, not our director, but the great-grandma, how great-grandma was very pampering for the great-grandchild. So she went over and said, it's okay lah. The mother, okay lah. Come on, play. And she said, no, I cannot. Mom said, I was naughty. I have to stand here. Okay? Because her mom was very calm as well. Her mom was a doctor. And sleeping time, she knows that she had to sleep at 9 o'clock. Even though the adults were talking, she did not stand up from the bed. She would lie on the bed and just lie on the bed. Even though she was listening, but she wouldn't dare to jump out of the bed, run around, walk around. And I found that one trick about them is that they are very calm. They are very calm when they talk. So the daughter called from Australia to KL to her grandma. She would talk to her grandma, and then she would ask her grandma, "Would you like to talk to mommy?" And grandma said, "Yes, I would like to talk to mommy. Can you please hold on?" 3 years old. "Can you please hold on?" And you can hear, "Hi, mommy." Was it Amma? She called our director Amma. Amma would like to talk to you. Can we teach our children talk like that? I heard your children talk before. They were like, "Oh my God." I wonder how you can live with them day after day after day. Not all, but some of them are. Like I was trying to, and woke up an atmosphere and story, and they will say words that will give me absolutely no face. So you have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis, okay? But how come her daughter can be so calm? I think it first came from the grandmother, then the mother. Even the great-grandmother, she was quite calm too, even though she contrasts them with always tempting the little grandchildren, the grandchild to do things that, come on. Mom, grandma gave you this, you come and play. But the daughter was very disciplined. And when she talks like as if she was a little adult. This year, I think she is 5 years old. 4 plus 5. So it comes from the adults. You start from very young. Okay? If you talk slowly, steadily, clearly, your children will pick that up. Okay? So would people around you. Now, if you are with somebody who talks very slowly, you will slow down too. The important things about slowing yourself down is actually help other people to slow down. There's a trick, okay? Let's say your husband is very angry with you, came home and rattling about things. Now, how would you want to react? "Oh, you're so mad at me? It's not my fault. So as you rattle, he also what? Rumble some more, okay? But if he was speaking at 100 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, then suddenly you said, "That's okay. That's all right. You must be actually quite tired. Would you like to have a glass of water?" Now, what else can he say? What else can he say? So you must know when you deal with fast people, you must be slow. Okay? When you deal with very slow people, then you can be a little bit fast. Okay? So there are contrasts. I find the difference between Chinese martial art and Japanese martial art. In Chinese martial art movie, Kung Fu Pian, they will fight from morning till the evening, fly from one roof to the other, always action, 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 spinning and turning and jumping here and there. Right? Now, how did the Japanese samurais fight? You never seen samurai movies before? Yeah, you should. They're great movies, especially those old black and white samurai movies. Okay, you will see both of them doing this. With a samurai sword, okay? You look at me, I look at you. Nothing happens. Just look at it. They look at each other for what? I don't know how many minutes. There was no music in the background. There was nothing, but just look at each other. So you sit there, you hardly can breathe. What's going to happen? But you can hear them, and then suddenly a little bit of leg movement. They're steadying themselves. Actually, they're positioning themselves. So as one sees the other positioning himself, the other will start to position himself. They were both positioning himself. Okay. And then there comes the truth. They run to each other. Ting! Finished. Over. Then you have to wait. You have to wait and see who falls. Because they were both. And then you have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then one of them, and then the other person, not looking back, suddenly, he's dead. Very different, right? Our Chinese kung fu, even chopstick, tang. Always very like, as if like, if I stop for 1 second, it will make you really nervous. But actually, between a dog who keeps barking and a dog who doesn't bark, who should you be scared of? The dog that barks or the dog that doesn't bark? Think about it. The dog that doesn't bark. If the dog that can't bark, especially small dogs, they'll bark a lot. Because they are small, they better use their voice to ward you off. You know those really big Dane, or German Shepherd, or the Rottweiler, and the Doberman? What do they do usually? They look at you. Don't move. Don't dare to move. They're just looking at you. When you see that, you better don't run. You should just stand there and smile. Try to smile. I'm not doing anything. I'm just calm. Better still, you squat. You squat lower. Okay, you squat down. You don't make yourself as if you are taller than them. You squat down, okay? You squat down and just observe first until his master come out. Okay, and you should act like a samurai, really. You got to size up every move he makes. Okay? So it's a practice. It's a practice for us to steal our mind, starting from our speech. And as we calm ourselves, we also calm the other person down. Practice this all the time, including your children. If they keep on speaking very fast, you speak slowly. Okay? Now, 68, it says, some people like to gossip and comment about the faults or good points of others. But if something does not concern us, we should not get involved. Because about good or bad, it's a comparison. It may not be true. So it's not that speaking of somebody's good point is bad. It's just that when they compare and they start to gossip, then it's not good. Okay? And sometimes invalid comparison will only invoke jealousy. You know, if you keep on saying, oh, hi, Mom always said that you are good. As if that none of us is good. So, since you're so good, you take care of Mom. You know, things of jealousy such as this may happen. So there's no point to compare and contrast. So that's why I said, 彼说长，此说短，不关己莫闲管. If it doesn't concern us, it's none of our business, we should not get involved. This is a very important point. But when it really, you should get involved, should you get involved? You should. When you see your two children are already fighting each other and until one of them is bleeding, you still stand there, 是关己莫闲管. No, you have to do something because before one of them get killed. You split them up first and then you find out what happened. However, one of my associates, he said, finally I could not do anything to stop my two children, one sister, one brother. They kept on arguing, quarreling, fighting each other all the time. So in the end, he was very frustrated. He said, okay lah, 你们打到死我也不管了. You fight lah. I don't care what happened to you. When after he said that, both of them stopped fighting. So it's no longer fun because father meant seriously. Father would not come and pull us apart. So actually they stopped. So that's why this expediency, when you should say something and when you should not say something. Now when you say the same thing as the father did, let's say you heard Teacher Song said that, so I will try that on my children, my two boys. Then you said that, oh, fighting again, okay I don't care, you go fight and you die, I also don't care. Then you walk away. Then from the kitchen you heard them still fighting, and fighting more and more seriously, okay? don't use this phrase anymore. You better go and do something. Hey, what happened? So the same words, if applied to different people, may not work. So you have to gauge for yourself. But this is a general rule, do not involve in gossip. Now, the next few rules help us to overcome what? Jealousy, anger, confrontations, greed. Instead, learn from the others. Okay? Always try to learn from the others, but overcome all these negativities. Jealousy, anger, confrontations, and greed. So if you look at the rule 69 to 72, the little white book. Now, when we see the goodness of others, we should encourage ourselves to learn from them. Even if we're far behind them, gradually we will achieve as they have. So don't give up on us. Okay, always learn something positive from the others. And when we see the fault of others, we should reflect on our own behavior. And if we have the same fault, we correct it. If we do not have this fault, we should always be alert and not make the same mistake. So that's how to help us to overcome jealousy and any mistakes that we may make. Now I'm going to stop there for a while and retract a little bit first. Why do we get angry? We get angry usually it's because we cannot get what we want. Because we want to control something and we cannot get what we want. Now, in the relationship between husband and wife, or between friends, or between children and parents, if we can always think about the goodness of others, and if we can forgive others as if we can forgive ourselves, there will be no problem. But if we always find faults in others and not ourselves, we would have problems. So, in order to do this, always look at the good side of a person. But is it true that there is nothing good about a person? No, right? There got to be a good about a person. Okay, think about your enemy. Do you have enemy? Or people you don't like? Do you have? Okay, you don't have to tell me who they are. Do you have someone you don't like? Oh, you have someone you don't like? Okay, you don't have to tell me. Think about one good positive thing about that person. You really don't like that person. Think about one good thing about that person. Really nothing? Okay. Think about the bad things about that person. Yeah, you. Think about all the negative traits about that person. Okay, greedy. Take advantage of people. This two, right? Anything else? So, greedy and take advantage of other people. So that's not bad, only two things. So what about others? Anything else? You see, sometimes what it points to is there are one or two things about that person who we do not like, but who make that person nothing good other than because of this one point I don't like about him. When I'm saying this, let's say because, let's say I don't like his voice. As simple as that, okay? I don't like his voice. Because I don't like his voice, every time I hear him talking, I don't want to hear. Does that make him actually bad? No, just simply because I don't like his voice. So, applying with this rule, he got to have something that is good. Okay? Maybe he likes to help people. Maybe he is very sensitive towards other people's need. Okay, or maybe he's a philanthropist, or maybe he's a very hard worker. So, for all the good things, I learn from him. But even the negative things, I don't have to learn from him. Okay? And if you find that you do not have those bad negative traits, like you don't want to be greedy and be jealous, or you want to be greedy and take advantage, so you tell yourself, I do not want to be greedy or take advantage of people. So you can also learn from other people's negative traits. So whether good or bad, we can learn something from them. Okay. So there is no absolute bad people. There's also no absolute good people. Can you trust yourself as being absolutely good? You cannot, right? Can we trust somebody who's absolutely bad? No. Try to think about the positive things about that person. Okay? And you will find some positiveness about that person who you can work on it. Okay? The important thing is, don't give up on anyone. Okay? So with that, I will end my sharing here. I will see you next week. Thank you very much.